time is 6 p.m. Council City of Denison now convene into regular session. Tonight's invocation will be given by Will Williams, pastor of Virginia Point United Methodist Church.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am, please.
Please bow. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you humbly and give thanks first and ask that you lead our leaders today. Oh God, as you anointed the leaders and called the prophets of old, lead us to recognize our true representatives and our authentic leaders, the men and the women who love your people and can walk with them, who feel their pain and share their joys, who dream their dreams and strive to accompany them to their common goal. In your fire, with your spirit, embolden and commission us to transform our political system, to serve your people, and to bring real glory to your name. We would like to ask this tonight for the guidance to those that just suffered with the tornadoes in Illinois, and give thanks to you that minimal loss of lives. Be with them and their cities as they rebuild. Bless all who serve in Denison, and reveal to these here present that we are so appreciative of their dedication. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Council's in receipt of the consent agenda. We are going to move out consent item number A, the minutes from the last meeting. Is there any other item wishing to, that anyone wants to take out of the consent? There being none, I'll take a motion to approve the consent with the exception of A.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the agenda, the consent agenda with a correction to the minutes of November the 4th. It reflected that we appointed Sue Finley as to the Fairview Cemetery Advisory Board, and in fact, we appointed Peggy Wheat.
I'll second. We have a motion from Councilmember Gott, second from Councilman Hanley. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Agenda item number 3, public hearings. 3A, the HUD. Mr. Speaker.
Mayor and council members, each year at the conclusion of our program year for our CDBG grant, we need to submit a consolidated annual performance evaluation report to HUD. And basically what that document tells HUD is how we spent the money during that program year. Total grant amount was $299,035, and we spent a total of $283,033.97. The remainder carries over to this next program year, and we'll spend it down. With that money, we did 114 rehabs and provided 12 first-time homebuyer grants. And that was in the 24,000 administrative fees. And that made up a total of $283,000. We're going to ask for a final public hearing. The first one was conducted by the steering committee on October the 28th. This will be the final public hearing, and then we'll ask for authorization to submit the report to HUD.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone here wishing to speak to this agenda item? There being none, the public hearing is closed. Discussion, questions from council?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion from Councilman Raleigh, second from Councilman Malvern. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Agenda item 3B, public hearing on the ordinance for the city's code of ordinance and zoning about infill lots. Ms. Brockett.
Mayor and council, we're here tonight to hold a public hearing and take action on an ordinance for a revision to the zoning ordinance to include section 2848A, residential infill development districts, single-family homes. This is to include development on vacant lots in other subdivisions. These would be in the districts of single-family 5, 2-family, multifamily 1 and 2, and part of 7.5. You do have a map that's attached and will address all the infill areas of the city. This would be the areas east of Perry Avenue to the city limits to the east. And along Morton Street north, there's some areas of infill that would be addressed also. This ordinance would address the single-family home construction on vacant lots. These lots have become vacant from demolition or fire, or just never been built on. These lots have water and sewer to them. They have streets in front of them. They are set up for development. Some of them are small lots. They're in older subdivisions that have been developed around them, and they may be 5,000 square foot lots. What this ordinance would do would allow developers to come in and construct a home that has a lesser square footage, 950 square feet minimum. Side yard setbacks would be lesser. They wouldn't have to hold all the parking spaces and garage requirements that you would see in the new subdivisions. They would be compatible with the neighborhood. This ordinance, we do have a change in what was given to you. You have a handout, and if you will look on F, minimum exterior construction standards, I think that the original ordinance had wood and vinyl. We have eliminated that, and they would have to do masonry products with hardy board if they so desire, or they can go the brick and rock. That was a change to what you originally received. These infill lots would increase our tax base, also give us water and sewer revenue. Planning and zoning has reviewed this ordinance and recommended approval with revisions, and staff is recommending approval with that revision.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here wishing to speak to this agenda item? There being none, public hearing is closed. Discussion, questions from council?
Mr. Mayor, make a motion we approve the item.
Second.
Have a motion from Councilman Spindle, second from Councilman Beck. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Agenda item 3C, public hearing on subdivision regulations. Ms. Brock.
This is basically a housekeeping item. The Construction Management Surety and City Participation Division, which under the withholding services and permits, we would like to add a section D. The procedures and standards in this article shall apply equally to subdivision improvements located within the boundaries of the plat and to the off-site improvements serving the subdivisions. There are some references to off-site facilities, but this will, I think, confirm any confusion that they might have.
And let me, if I can just speak briefly on where this applies in the building process. If a developer comes in, files a preliminary plat, wants to go ahead and file their final plat, but has not yet constructed the necessary improvements, our ordinance requires, as do many ordinances across Texas, some sort of surety that we have certainty that the public improvements will be constructed. And it's common practice. What we're simply adding is saying that if you have an off-site improvement, right, then that has to meet the same surety requirements as an improvement that's within the city and part of the plat. Does that make sense? So if they had to build a lift station that was 5 miles away from the subdivision, because we needed to have additional capacity given the new homes they're building, that would be an off-site and that would be required to have the same type of sureties that the sewer lines, water lines, and public roads in the subdivision would be required to have.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here wishing to speak to this agenda item? There being none, the public hearing is closed. Questions from council?
Mayor, I move we approve this ordinance.
Second.
Have a motion from Councilman Beck, second from Councilmember Gott. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Fay. Agenda item 4A, hold discussion on proposed expenses related to library renovation project. Mr. Beck.
Honorable Mayor and Council, I'm here tonight to tell you where we are on the library renovation project and to tell you that we've found an error. And we want to accept some responsibility for that and to kind of explain to you how we got here. One of the things that has happened is we've come to the point where we've raised $550,000, some of that from the city, some of that coming from various foundations. And the result of that is we're about to undertake a major renovation of the library, which hasn't been done in over 30 years. So there are a lot of hidden costs that have sort of come to light. Frankly, we've also run into a problem where the consultant missed some of the things that we were doing. It was a matter of, we set this budget about this time last year, and during that time, over the summer, we saw an increase in the cost of furniture of about 12%. Most of the furniture companies raised, I guess, due to the rise of wood and of steel. The other thing is we frankly missed that we were removing some of the shelving, and when we built the cost, we based it on average cost per square foot. And we backed out the cost of shelving because we figured we weren't replacing the shelving. Well, we weren't replacing it, we were just removing it to make more room for public use. So we didn't consider that. Then the other thing was, Mr. Price and his team were just finishing up a project at Waxahachie, and they thought they had a very good firm handle on the cost of furniture. What we failed to recognize was that the furniture was not traditional library furniture, but by and large more high-tech furniture, which is of course more expensive as you start running cable and wiring to all those stations. Anyway, to make a long story short, we're now over budget if we do all those pieces by some $120,000. What we've done to try and rectify that is create a three-phase approach whereby we can get the first phase of the project done close to the budget. We'd still need about $25,000. And we broke it into phases 2 and 3 so that we'd have a better chance of understanding what we would need to do in the future to bring the project fully to completion. Phases 2 and 3 will run us about $100,000 more. We understand that there is already funds available left over from other projects that the city's engaged in that could fund this. We respectfully recommend that we do all 3 phases, but that's certainly a choice that the council would need to make. And I'm prepared to answer any questions that y'all might have.
Alvin, let's talk about the costs associated with the temporary site. Can you help go through those? I know we've got the rental of the building, and it looks like, is it $4,000 to light the building up from an internet perspective?
Well, that's not all internet. That includes the internet. It would include it includes the electricity, the heating, the cooling, so on. And I'm just basing those numbers off. Mr. Cole gave me some numbers on what he had when the building was fully used. I don't know that it's really going to be that much, but I wanted to make sure, at least on this one, I had the right number. But it does include the internet service, yes, sir.
Okay, so the only cost related to this temporary site that would be avoidable is that about $14,000, because you're going to have to move the books one way or the other, whether you move them there or you move them.
Right, and the temporary site is actually a service area, so that people will be able to continue to use the internet to come get some of the popular material items. We will also have a warehouse where we keep the items that are less used and the furniture that will be retasked. And that's that other, I think I put that down at $2,000, but I've been visiting with the local warehouse guy, and he thinks he can save me a lot of money on that, so I believe that number will be significantly lower.
Okay, and I guess the public is going to be able to use it, because I know children's programming is actually going to be done in that site.
Yes, sir. There's enough room over at the Crouch Home Furnishings store. I don't know how many remember, but there were like really three areas there. There's the first area at 306, which is where we have the computers and most of the adult stuff. And then there's a sort of a middle section there. We're looking to use that for the children's programming that we do and some of the children's Christmas books and stuff like that.
Can you talk to why the RFID system's coming so far under budget?
I negotiated that one.
Yes.
But basically the cost of the RFID chips continue to come down. It's like much in technology, things that were even 2 years ago, tags were 35, 40 cents a piece. They're now down to 15 cents a piece. The other thing is we've also decided that we would severely shrink the collection. We're going to drop from about 85,000 items to 65,000. So you start backing out that, you don't need as many tags as you used to have.
Okay.
So,
and then of these dollars, including construction and configuration, is there anything in here that has expanded from the original concept that the council has approved on 2, maybe 3 occasions? Is there anything that's expanded as far as the scope of the project?
not really a lot of any expansion.
It's the
I
same
think
project.
it's the same project. I think part of what's going on is you have 2 buildings that one dates from 1948 and one was constructed in 1974. And pretty much as you start tearing into things to see what it actually involves. And again, what we did when we built the budget was primarily based on standard renovation costs, standard costs for furniture, standard costs for painting. And as we began to dig into the actual project, you find that because it's such an old building, these costs are actually going up because you're finding things. And we did build contingencies in there, but it's really the biggest problem is going to be in the furniture.
Yeah, I mean, it looks to me like our biggest issues aren't construction. We'll know that next week, I guess, for
Yes,
sure,
sir.
but it's on these other things. And I've said for a year that this project, at the old numbers, is the best dollar for dollar project that we'll do in the city all year. And I still believe that, but the project creep and the miscalculation of cost estimates is tiresome. It's tiresome for this council to deal with bad information for a period of a year. We've got to do a better job of getting the information up front, because the other part of this is we took this project to local partners for funding, and with what we thought was good information, and it simply wasn't the most accurate information. And I think we can do a better job. I'm hopeful that we'll do a better job going forward, and not continue to see these types of deals. I mean, yeah, we can talk about the consultant, we can talk about who and what, but at the end of the day, we're overseeing the consultant, and I'm sure that they have a list. We're going to need 25 tables at this price or whatever, that we need to say that's right or whatever, and we just have to do a better job. Have to do a better job. So.
Mayor, on behalf of the entire staff, we agree with you 100%, and we will do a better job in the future. We're not, we own this problem just as much as the consultant does. You guys pay us well to make sure the numbers are right, and we collectively as a staff did not do that. And we will do a better job. I guess is my commitment to you in open session.
Why would we not lock in pricing on some of these things? If I'm reading this right, we're about a 23% cost overrun on this project, and that's substantial. I would agree with the mayor's comments on this project. I'm concerned with this in lieu of we still may get into some more construction issues that this project developed. We don't know where it's going to go, but I think we've got to do better homework on what we're doing and lock these prices in.
If I understand it right, I mean, you're right on the homework, but I think the large majority of the issue is we didn't have enough of the pieces budgeted. It wasn't that, I mean, a small increase to the actual price per unit based on the market, but I think we said we needed I'm making these numbers up, but 25 chairs, and we really needed 35 chairs because we needed lounge seating and meeting rooms because of moving those walls and shelves that he's talking about, so.
And to go to your point, Councilman, I think when the price increases occurred, the funding requests were already out, but because of the budget process and the cycle for funding, the funding came in after the price increases had happened, and frankly, did not calculate that we had a problem back in September, and we should have. Back to Mr. Hannah's point, we should have been watching that. I should have certainly been watching that a little closer than I was. Just missed that. But basically, the request had already been made when the price increases came.
Well, first of all, I want to acknowledge, appreciate Mr. Bailey's comment about accepting responsibility for it, because it is difficult when we go back to the citizens and talk to them about it, about having these kind of overruns. But I echo the mayor's comment that this is still, as far as a project that I feel like the citizens in my district and across the city can touch and feel and get experience from. You know, this is a great project, so I'm really excited about that. One question for Mr. Hannah. The talking about the money coming out of the bond fund.
Yes, sir.
Is that free money? I mean, not free. Is that available money, or had we already talked about using that for something else?
No, it is available money. When we issued the bonds, the library was a listed project, so we listed it very broadly.
But I mean internally.
Yes.
Because there was some talk that some of that money was supposed to go towards the police station.
We talked about the availability of that in the budget process. We budgeted 100% of the police station funds to come from the general fund.
Okay,
So
we're not
that is money that is potentially could have offset the general fund obligation
Right.
for that, but it will not be if we move forward.
Well, my main concern was I want to make sure that we weren't
We're not
robbing
spending
Peter to
money.
pay Paul, and
Right.
somebody else was going to end up paying for that mistake, that we
Right.
weren't going to be able to do whatever we agreed to do on the police station. So,
Right.
okay, that makes me feel better.
Other questions?
What contingency do we have built into here that's, if we start taking up flooring and have asbestos tile or something like that come up, what do we have? You know, we have 10%, 15% or anything else built into this to cover those?
At this point, the contingency would be built into that construction number that we have. We did a check on asbestos for the bathrooms, the hallway, and so on. We had the carpet up, and when we put in the last round of carpet back in the mid-'80s, and yeah, there is asbestos tile under the carpet on the east side of the building, but it is again, according to the architect and everyone else, as long as we don't break it up and disturb it, there's no issue with it. We just need to pull up the carpet and put down the new carpet, and all's fine. Unless we as a community decide we want to remove that tile at that time, and that would not be our recommendation. Again, it's, as long as it's undisturbed, it's not an issue.
So construction numbers has some built in.
It has some contingency built into it as well. Yes, sir.
Alvin, you know about what percentage that contingency is?
Not off the top of my head, no, sir. I mean, I've got the detailed numbers from the architect.
To clarify the point, though, and this is something that I think, just to make sure everybody's aware of, is that the only number that's outstanding on this project is the guaranteed maximum price from the construction manager risk. That number will be known at the council meeting on the 26th, a couple days before then. In our meeting late last week, with a phone conference with Gallagher, the construction manager at risk out of Dallas, he was confident that our construction dollars that we had budgeted are going to cover the construction costs. In the report, we specifically call out the fact that we need to make y'all aware of the fact that it might not. So that is an unknown at this point in time, but it's a known unknown. And I guess from my perspective is we will deal with that when we cross that bridge. But at this point in time, the contractor, the construction manager, is confident that those numbers are solid based on other projects he's bid. This is a small job in the big scheme of things, but we won't know for certain until late November.
Let me piggyback on that. As from a logistical standpoint, if it's the council's pleasure to approve this with the adjustments, and that number comes in different, comes in higher, are we still, because part of this crucialness is this work being done in December.
It is.
How is that gonna work being in such a narrow window?
At the meeting on the 26th, when we approved the budget, council can authorize more funds at that point.
So we do have, okay.
Required, right?
I mean, I certainly hope that doesn't come into play, but I certainly don't want to get to this point in the road, and now we're going to pass our window of opportunity when the library can be easily or less obtrusively renovated.
That's correct.
Any discussion?
Mayor, I'll make a recommendation, or I'll make a motion to approve the project as amended to include the additional work, the additional scope in one phase,
With funding sources
as outlined in the report.
Second.
Motion from Councilman Hanley, second from Councilman Scott. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
And council, thank you, and we will do a better job.
And I guess just one point of clarity too, you know, it's dependent upon where you are in taking something to council. We don't want to be on the flip side of it, that we're so hedging the bets that the council has to say no to every project too, right? So, but we just need the research put in so that we know we're getting good numbers when the time's right. So, I mean, there's a time in the project that a price per square foot industry standard is a good way to budget. But there's another time as you move forward or start asking for money from partners and stuff that we can be more specific. So,
Understood.
And we need to hold these consultants and architects feet to the fire to what they give us.
Understood.
If not, we need to find new ones.
Understood.
Yep.
Agenda item 5B, late hour amplification permit, Mr. Hanna.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. What you have before you tonight is simply just that, a late hours permit request. Staff's recommendation is that Council deny the permit primarily because we haven't gotten confirmation that TABC has approved their late alcohol process. Another alternative the council may consider is to go ahead and approve the late hours permit. We've approved them for 2 other venues under similar circumstances, with the caveat that it's not effective until TABC issues their late hours permit, which would certainly be a higher level of service to the customer having to come back to council the second time, and provides us the safeguards I think we need. The staff backup shows the location at 4820 Texoma. And again, we have issued similar permits to the office and also Club Rio.
Questions from council?
I make a motion that we approve the request for the deal contingent upon them getting the TCAB late hours,
I think that'd be TABC.
whatever it is. I'm not good with initials. Texas
Texas
alcohol.
Beverage condition.
Yeah. I only know banking.
Acronyms.
Y'all are open enough to happen.
I'll second the
I have a motion from Councilman Spindle, second from Councilman Hanley. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. The council now go into executive session for chapter 551 Texas Government Code to discuss and provide staff direction on 715 West Sears regarding contemplated litigation. Also discuss personal matters related to the Greater Texas Utility Board of Directors and Historic Preservation Advisory Board, and also discuss economic development negotiations between DBJ Properties and also ODG Development LLC. The time is 6:20